Beaver Falls, 1460 WMBA Ambridge, and also on 99.3 FM.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
The following program is for mature and logical audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically. It's your host again, Joseph Anthony Corsai, and quite a lot has happened, as usual, again, in the week since our last episode. Ryan, how have you been?
I've been well, my man. I've been well. We haven't spoke to one another in a week, so I got to catch up with all my politics.
The last couple weeks, actually. I think we went 2 weeks ago. We missed a Thursday show again. Thursdays are like it's for the birds, I guess.
Well, I had the draft to keep me occupied last week, but I have to get caught up on my politics, Joe.
Okay, well, let's get you caught up. We saw quite a lot happen. Let's recap for 1 second here. Mike Waltz, he was fired, except he really wasn't. He was just reassigned to the UN by Donald Trump. Like I said, I guess Donald Trump, we thought Donald Trump took a page out of the old book, A Song of Ice and You're Fired, but Mike Waltz was just reassigned. I don't know who's gonna replace Waltz, if it's gonna be Stephen Miller, if it's gonna be, I guess Marco Rubio's acting as of right now. What else did we see? Oh, over the weekend, the Kentucky Derby, a horse named Sovereignty won the Kentucky Derby by a nose over a horse named Journalism. If that doesn't have symbolism written all over it, I don't know what does. In audience, Ryan, jump in if you want. The only two horses scratched from the race, they had Spanish names, Rodriguez and Grande.
Are you serious?
Wow, America is back. Going into Cinco de Mayo weekend. What else did we see? Oh, tragedy struck the Pirates PNC Park, specifically the right field Roberto Clemente wall. I'm sure everyone's seen this by now. A Pirates fan fell nearly to his death. Ryan, did you see this?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty terrible.
It looked like he fell 100 feet, not 21.
You know, when I initially seen it, I thought, gee whiz, how far was that? And then I thought, oh, duh, it's the 21-foot wall. And my initial thought was it seemed a lot higher than 21 feet.
It looked like he wasn't prepared to hit the ground. Like he should have been spinning for another half hour.
Right.
That was scary. There's reports coming out now that he was intoxicated, that he dumped a beer on himself. I don't know what's true, what's not. Again, maybe someone should have took a little bit more responsibility for him. Maybe someone there that saw him dump a beer, if that did happen, maybe they should have thrown him out or removed him when he did dump an entire beer on himself, like being reported. But again, not to be funny, the Pirates can't really afford to throw any fans out of games.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Ryan, right or wrong on this? The right field Roberto Clemente wall, is it cursed? And let me explain why I'm thinking this. We said this a couple episodes ago. They put the alcoholic beverage over the Roberto Clemente 21. I believe it was Surfside Drinks. And look what happened after they put up a Surfside drink banner on the right field Roberto Clemente wall. We had an alcohol-related incident with a kid who's not even 21. Roberto Clemente's number is 21. It's the 21-foot wall. The kid's not 21. He's underage. He's drinking. He falls. Could impact him for the rest of his life.
I mean, you know, obviously anybody could say coincidence. However, you know, there's been many, many years that the Pirates have been playing in PNC Park and nobody's jumped and fallen over that wall. And also nobody's put anything over that Clemente sign. So maybe you just may have something here, Joe.
I'm telling you. Okay. Now, yes, no, maybe. Curse. Is it like a Boston Babe Ruth curse? Is it whatever? Is it a curse?
I mean, for the Pirates, it has to be continuing on to the curse that they already had. Okay. But I wouldn't argue it.
Okay, last question. I'll leave you alone here. Bob Nutting, if you're him, do you at least think about selling the team? I mean, if there is a curse on that wall, just think. Do you think about selling the team? You pretty much have the Pittsburgh fan base. They're reaching desperation levels similar to 1945 Imperial Japan. They're going kamikaze over the wall.
Yeah. I'm not for this reason alone, but I think, you know, maybe just maybe at the end of the day when Bob Nutting is sitting there thinking to himself, you know, that he's getting so much feedback from the fans and it's not good as of the past 2 years. You know, he was saying that Cherington, he was going to give him all this money, go out and make the team better. We literally did nothing in the offseason. So, I mean, just maybe overall at some point he's going to realize he's not a great baseball owner and sell, but it just stinks because who can you go over his head with? Nobody. He owns the team.
Speaking of over his head, what is with his haircut? He has the second worst haircut for sports owners next to Al Davis.
I always thought he kind of looked like a South Park character.
He does. He looks like he's a Canadian, like his mouth's going to open up this way. You got to fix his hair.
Yeah.
Sell the team. My Lord. But we are paying for, is it Mark Wood? I believe the young fan's name is Mark Wood that fell, his last name at least. Yeah. So, Mr. Mark Wood, we are praying for you.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into the show here. So, today is Cinco de Mayo, as most of you know. And it's also the 9-year anniversary of, Ryan, you didn't remember this, Trump posting his famous Cinco de Mayo picture where he claimed that, quote, the best taco bowls are made at the Trump Tower Grill. So,
I didn't remember that.
You don't remember it. No. You can look up the picture if you want when you get a chance. Just type in Trump taco bowls. It should be the first one that comes up. You can't really picture Trump eating anything Mexican aside from a taco bowl, I guess. You don't ever see him eating a burrito or taco or taking a bite like that. I'm sure the burrito bowls are what he likes because they have walls on them. On the side of the burrito wall, they have walls. All right. But anyway, 9 years ago, Trump posted this picture, the single picture of him eating a taco bowl. And the media, if you remember, completely lost it. This is 2016. Completely lost it. Opinion pieces were within hours. BuzzFeed. They were running stories about how Trump Tower didn't even have taco bowls. Talk about investigative journalism. Opinion pieces were penned implying that Donald Trump may in fact be racist against Hispanics. Let me read one here. Firstly, Cinco de Mayo is a specific Mexican holiday, not one for all Hispanics. Secondly, this taco bowl is not authentic Mexican food, but some Americanized bastardization. Thirdly, Trump implied that tacos made in his building are the best when there are a number of genuinely good Mexican food places within blocks of Trump Tower. If Donald Trump really wanted to send out a message to Hispanics, he should have gone to one of those. One outlet noticed that he was eating the taco bowl on top of a picture of Marla Maples in a bikini. Now, for those of you that don't know who Marla Maples is, that's Trump's ex-wife. How does he get out of all of these things, too? Also, today, someone mentioned that when you zoom into the picture, the open drawer, supposedly, this is crazy, there are cough drops, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine in the open drawer in that picture. I'll have to zoom in. I have to check that out. Anyway, the point is, we never see journalism like this anymore. Trump posted a picture, and everyone became a detective. Instead, though, today, journalists, they're more interested in telling a lie instead of giving us the truth. As long as the lie hurts Trump, that's all that matters. Now, remember, we just had an election where there was a lot of lying going on by our media, particularly CBS and 60 Minutes. And remember, Trump, he's suing CBS and 60 Minutes. And according to reports, I think the parent company is at Paramount. Anyway, it looks like they're going to actually negotiate, CBS and Paramount, negotiate some type of deal over that Kamala Harris 60 Minutes interview that CBS completely edited. Well, audience, speaking of that interview, more news related to that interview from 60 Minutes has come out. And this is an all-time classic. I actually may frame this story and hang it on my wall so I never forget that this actually happened. The controversial 60 Minutes interview at the center of President Trump's lawsuit against CBS News. Would you believe it's now an Emmy-nominated program? The interview, shortly before the election, was considered one of the most important of the campaign. Remember, Kamala Harris, whatever you want to call her at this point, she avoided any spontaneous interview, interaction, whatever, with anyone in the media and only agreed to a few that were favorable. But think about this. The Emmys might give 60 Minutes an award for manipulating a presidential candidate's answer during their interview during an election. Imagine that. They edited the interview to try and sway minds for the election, and they might even get an award for it. Wow. Isn't that election interference, by the way? I mean, what else can you call that? And it's the second election in a row that the media played an active role in hiding information. Last time, of course, being the Hunter Biden laptop that had financial crimes and probably sex crimes at a minimum on it. But then again, this time, the media selectively edited one of the presidential candidate's answers simply to make her sound less simple, I guess, to put it simply. The nominations for the 46th News and Documentary Emmy Awards were announced Thursday. 60 Minutes, I guess, landed several nods, but the one that was most notable was in the Outstanding Edited Interview category for its primetime special featuring then Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, a.k.a. the Dancing Queen. CBS or 60 Minutes failed to comment when asked about the nomination, but Trump's White House Communications Director Stephen Chong told Fox News this, quote, "Of course it's nominated for the best editing because it takes some serious talent to edit Kamala's answer into something that's coherent and understandable," which, in the end, they still failed to do. I should also mention to our audience that 60 Minutes executive producer Bill Owens, who at the time refused to apologize for the Harris interview, he resigned last week, citing corporate pressure that he said prevented him from maintaining editorial independence, I guess we'll call it. It's amazing. But are we surprised? All these new... we're only hearing this because they got caught and Trump is suing. This happens all the time. It happened last week. Take the failing New York Times, for instance. They were caught by everyone, the White House included, making for them, what seems to be like a typical omission these days, in a horrifying crime that happened on the New York City subway in April, a couple weeks ago. So the New York... the Times, they reported 44-year-old Felix Rojos had been accused of repeatedly raping the corpse of a 37-year-old man named Jorge Gonzalez as he robbed him on the subway back on April 8th around 11:45 p.m. How do you repeatedly rape someone that's dead? Why do you repeatedly rape someone that's dead? The robbing I could see. The raping I don't understand for the life of me. Anyway, surveillance footage. There's surveillance footage of this? Surveillance footage showed Rojas first rifled through Gonzalez's pockets to allegedly rob him, then returned to sexually assault the man's corpse. Prosecutors say, he returned? What did he leave for? I hope to go get a condom. This is how the New York Times reported the story, though. So that was from the New York Post. This is how the New York Times reported the story. This is what they said. Ready? Police arrest a man they say abused a corpse on the R train. That's the headline, audience. Then it goes on. A Brooklyn man has been charged with first-degree rape after police say he violated the body of a dead man on a Manhattan subway. Did you hear that, audience? A Brooklyn man. A Brooklyn man. Here we go. Here we go again. First there was a Maryland man. Now we got a Brooklyn man raping corpses. Except, judging by his name, I'll bet he's not from Brooklyn. Anyway, I guess Homeland Security saw this article and they reposted it on X and they added some context to it for the New York Times. They say police arrest illegal alien. They say abused a corpse on the R train. So this is an illegal alien. Why didn't the New York Times call him an illegal alien? Why did they call him a Brooklyn man? The New York Times put out a 400-word story about someone raping a corpse on the New York City subway, but failed to mention anywhere in that 400-word body of work story that the man was an illegal alien. 400 words. You can't fit illegal alien in there anywhere? How does that happen? Better yet, why? Why does that happen? Raping a corpse is just super weird. And these people, I hope this man gets deported and the Democrats go down there to visit him and try to send him back. Please. Please. Can you imagine how all of Joe Biden's voters are in danger of being raped? They're dead. Rough crowd here. Rough crowd. All right, let's move on to the next story here. Oh, so this came out today. So after that, now, this guy's here illegally raping dead people. I guess it's better than raping living women, which has been happening also with illegal immigrants in this country. So Trump put this out. He said that his administration will now pay immigrants living illegally in the United States $1,000 to leave the country. And you know what? I got to think. It's not a bad deal. It's a great deal considering it costs probably I think someone said $17,000 to have ICE remove them on average. $17,000. And there's 10 million of these people? Do that math on your calculator. You can't even do it. It comes up with that whatever that anyone that No one that no one unless you passed more than 8th or 9th grade math knows what that even means. But again, $17,000 for each illegal on average. He's letting illegal criminal aliens keep their money and possessions and then get rewarded for doing the right thing, for going home. And then you're not banned for life. You could come back. So, now what everyone leaving the media, they're leaving out that the illegal criminal aliens, they're going to be able to reapply for reentry, I guess, legally. Like I said, it's a good deal. Sadly, though, think about it. There ain't no way most of these people are going to take the $1,000. No way they're going home for $1,000. Why would they? They're staying in a free luxury hotel at the Roosevelt. Free food, free money. They get $1,000 probably every week. You got the money laundering machine going on. You got NGOs paying these people. Why in the hell would they leave for $1,000? Stephen Miller, he put this out. He tweeted, the choice facing illegals: A, leave now and get free flight plus exit bonus, or B, refuse to leave and face a fine of $1,000 daily, prosecution and imprisonment, forfeiture of all assets, garnishment of all wages, confiscation of all property, and deportation whenever we choose. Good. Who we got on the line today? Dawn,
who's here?
Are you thinking about leaving for $1,000?
Oh, they ain't going nowhere. Hey, I had to do some clothes at the laundromat yesterday, and the guy does not know who I am or that I call the radio station or anything, but I was informed that before the Civil War, the Republicans in the South, the bad things that they did, I was informed that illegal immigrants, although he refused to call them that, commit far less crime than Native American citizens. But years ago, a friend of mine, when Uncle Joe finally came into the White House and probably went to sleep, I figured this out anyway, but he's a highly educated young man and a true gentleman. If somebody from Venezuela murders me after I hang up the phone and walk out to get the mail, it will say somewhere, if there's official whatever, a resident of Beaver Falls was killed by another resident of Beaver Falls. Do you watch the mainstream media at all on the television?
I haven't the last week, but when I do, I told you, it's usually, I don't watch Fox News. It's usually bits and pieces of CNN or MSNBC.
I mean, I would hope any 14-year-old would know that these are pathological. These are people being paid to lie. I also have a $2 bet that we're going to have riots in 2026. We just got to stay the course. No, we can't even deport one. Oh, he also informed me that two people have informed me that MS-13 tattoo was photoshopped. Everything's photoshopped.
Can we talk about that for a second? Did you see the interview he had with, it wasn't 60 Minutes, I can't remember, maybe Face the Nation, and he was trying to explain that it symbolizes. Everyone knows they put MS-13 superimposed on top of the marijuana leaf and the skull. These people are too thick-headed to get it, and they think that we're too thick-headed to figure it out too.
What I don't understand is, but just like someone in a restaurant, I wrote a letter to the editor right before the election in 2016, 2020. And a friend of mine, he's a little internet weenie, and he told someone where I was going to be. I hung up the phone and said, I'm going to head down to this little restaurant. They came in waiting for me, sat at my table. For 20 minutes, I listened to a stranger harangue. You know, they're awfully brave, too, aren't you? Know, I hate to tell you this. I know this for a fact. If you get them out in the countryside, there ain't nothing like a big, dumb country boy. They turn into cowards as soon as they get out of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand how the media, they're priming them up for riots. Real simple yes or no question. Would Herr Goebbels be proud of our media?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. He'd be shouting down like you see that meme of the person looking down and the sun's at the... He'd be so stinking proud of the American media machine, and Barack Obama, because he's the one that did what was the act that actually allowed propaganda to be on the airwaves to the American people? You'd have to look it up. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yes, he did. And I told one guy, I said, I'll debate Barack Obama in my Scooby-Doo pajamas tomorrow. He laughed and denigrated me. I always, if I throw one out there, I listen to their slander. He cannot explain Crimea. He cannot explain calling ISIS the junior varsity team before they raped and murdered the Coptic Christians. He cannot explain anything. Barack Hussein Obama, I would hope any 14-year-old could out-debate him. This is far beyond Nazi Germany. I'm sorry. We just don't have the bodies yet. Are we going to get them?
Well, if you brought Barack Obama, Hitler was known for eliminating his rivals and people that he didn't trust. Remember when Barack Obama killed his chef?
Wait a minute. No, a chef died. I do know that.
Well, hey, why can't I be like the media and just lie and just fill in my own blanks like they do with Trump?
Exactly.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, really. A friend of mine told me, this is before Trump was cheated in 2020. He said, I got to warn you. He said, if Trump loses, I will not discuss politics ever again, and to the best of my knowledge, he is not. I know I was in contact with him for a long time. I'd like to think we could prevent this. Do they want a civil war? I know they want civil unrest so they can get martial law, right?
Okay, you asked if they want a civil war. Now, you've been paying attention, probably very close the last 2 years. I said 2.5 years ago, the first show we ever did on this, over 2.5 years ago, before you were on radio, I said, these people want a civil war, but if they keep this up, they're going to completely expose themselves and they're going to get a revolution. And I think that's what we're leaning towards with the election. Trump getting elected again and winning the popular vote with the cheating too, that was a revolution. We didn't have to do it with muskets this time. The revolution was at the ballots. Do you understand what I mean? So
the warriors are going to be lawyers this time, and like that reptilian creature that said to turn the plane around, I don't know why. I was told this by someone as a young man, and in Montgomery, Alabama, this poor little old woman was trying to shuffle up to the grocery store, and it still had the where you pull the doors open. When she finally made it up there, and I opened the door, she looked at me, and she had the most beautiful blue eyes and this wrinkled face, and she smiled and said, my, a Southern gentleman, and walked in. Of course, I was in the military, and I smiled at her. And a friend of mine had said, if they are a beautiful person, they will retain beauty. When you turn evil, why does it manifest itself in your physical appearance?
Yeah. Hey.
Well, is that guy frightening to you? The cretin that said to turn the plane around?
He does look super weird. He does look like a little bit of an alien. Like I don't want to see his birth certificate. I want to see his Earth certificate. He does look like a Nokia or something.
Get one guy out of the country.
No, and how are we going to do this with 20 million people? You're going to have 20 million individual trials, and they use these terms like due process that the American people don't even really understand it. What they're trying to do there, it's absolutely insanity. The media, criminals. There
was a speech. I had it on cassette tape, and the philosopher Ayn Rand said one time, no matter what happens in the interim, evil cannot sustain itself. And you could just hear her sneer, even though you're listening to a cassette tape. And she said, like Hitler's 1,000-year Reich that only lasted 12 years. Evil cannot sustain itself, can it?
No, it cannot.
Hey, take care, guys.
Hey, Don, one question. You said 2026. Yeah. Do you think the riots are going to happen this summer or in 2026?
I was told by the guy at the laundromat that the liberal whites are going to take over the protesting this time. That way the police will not be aiming machine guns at them. And I said, all I saw was police standing in a line and having urine balloons thrown at them. They claim that if the white liberals protest, I don't know what to say. I've just confused myself with your question. What do you think's going to happen? I don't know.
The only thing about it being 2026 is that leaves them enough time for the midterms. They might want to kick this off early. And remember what they did in Chaz in Seattle. They had the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. They took over a part of the United States, and that doesn't get talked about enough. January 6th gets talked about every day. The fact that the left took over parts of Seattle and renamed it Chaz for weeks doesn't get any attention at all. That's memory hold in everyone's mind. But
in another apartment complex in San Antonio, that man now is ruined financially, right? They let the Venezuelans take over an apartment complex.
I don't know if it was San Antonio, Colorado. It seems to be all over the country, but that's fake news, apparently. That's a cheap fake.
Absolutely. I don't know what to say about the riots, but they're coming.
All right. Well, if you're a betting man, let me know. Let me know if you get an edge somewhere.
There you go. Take care.
Thanks,
Dawn.
Dawn.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about Kash Patel, Dr. Fauci, and RFK. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically on 99.3 FM WBVP. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearm store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
Have you ever wanted to work in radio? Well, now is your chance. St. Barnabas Broadcasting is a network of 11 radio stations, and we are looking for account executives to introduce St. Barnabas Broadcasting and digital media to new prospective clients and grow existing ones. Experience in sales is preferred. Interested prospective candidates can apply by sending their resume to fsparks@beavercountyradio.com or by calling 724-444-JOBS.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. Brought to you by So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing. Remember, whether you need your house washed, driveway clean, patio done, fences, gutters, you name it, call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing at 724-252-4489. That's 724-252-4489. They're fully insured and offer free estimates. So what are you waiting for? Don't be the outcast in your neighborhood with a dirty deck or house. Call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing today. Okay, welcome back to the show. First segment, we were talking about basically how fake the news is, that whole 60 Minutes, how they're getting an award for an Emmy whenever they edited the interview with Kamala Harris. Some other stories,
and
too.
it was so blatantly. I remember seeing that, and then they showed the real version. I thought, what?
And then they sent out the transcript of the entire thing. They had that close to their vest, the transcript forever, and they finally released
it's
that.
Unbelievable.
So let's talk about something that wasn't edited, that I thought was edited when I first saw it on TV. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. on live television, I think it was Thursday, he said that the Biden administration, the Biden administration's HHS, they were complicit in child sex trafficking and slavery. So RFK Jr. said HHS was a, quote, collaborator in child trafficking, and that he has ended this, and now they are aggressively trying to find these 300,000 children that were, quote, lost by the Biden administration. So HHS lost immediate contact with over 85,000 minors, about 1/3 of those placed with sponsors between 2021 and 2022. I guess internal whistleblowers said staff were pressured to move children quickly. often skipping vital safety checks. Children were housed with gang members, sex offenders, or unrelated adults who falsely claimed familial ties. And honestly, how much have we heard about the gang members now? Why is there... This would seem so shocking. Really, they put a child, they house a child with a gang member, really? Then you think about, like, well, maybe he was just a Maryland man. Maybe he was just a Maryland man, not a gang member. How the hell were they supposed to know? I'm being sarcastic here, audience, in case you can't tell. Anyway, Senator Chuck Grassley, he's about 99 years old, but he was able to release internal HHS records showing the agency placed kids with known MS-13 affiliates and unvetted, quote, sponsors tied to criminal organizations. And all this happened under federal watch, not state, not local, federal watch. Remember the Brooklyn father, or the Maryland father that was pulled over, that was human trafficking? And the FBI said, let him go. The Biden FBI said, let him go. What are you going to do? I don't get it. I do not get it. So is there human trafficking or not? Again, are we ever going to find anything at all about Epstein, human trafficking? Why was the border open for so long, and why were so many children? Why was the focus the children always? I don't know. So Biden's HHS Secretary Xavier, what's his name? Becerra, Becerra? Anyway, he pressured his own ORR director to resign for raising concerns over the trafficking of children. So, again, this guy's HHS director under Biden, and he continued to push for more kids to be brought into the United States. And I guess it's saying here to be used as child labor? That was his idea? Really? What if I told you, audience, that this guy, this Xavier Becerra, he's now running to be the governor of California? I'm serious. He posted this on X, was it a couple days ago? I'm running to be the next governor of California. As AG, I took on Trump and won. As HHS secretary, I took on Big Pharma and won. Did you? Did you? I remember the COVID vaccine being a big thing. Anyway, it's time to do it again for California. Let's rebuild the California dream for everyone. Okay. For everyone. I just,
Joe, a lot of times, a lot of people hear, some of these things, and it's, it's political. They're like, okay, this guy, he's a right wing, he's on radio. These people on the left wing. But I just pulled up the numbers, Joe, and it's actually mind-boggling what's going on here. The amount of children that go missing every year in America is between 400 and 800,000 children. Joe, pull this up right in front of you. It sounds crazy to hear, but one source right here in the United States, approximately 840,000 children are reported missing annually. Another one has it right around 500,000. And that, I think, every 68 seconds a child goes missing. That, I think, Joe, is the bigger picture. While a lot of times things get mixed up and lost in politics, that is alarming. Children. Joe, that number, how is this even happening in this country? So to even think that we don't have these kind of problems to begin with are insane. But if you would look at that number and look at three different sources like I just did, and they're all roughly right around, where are all these kids going?
And when do they turn up missing? When they go with the foster parents? When they go with... Remember Ric Flair? He's adopted. You know his story.
I don't.
So he's adopted. I can't remember the woman, the house that he went. She was busted for trafficking in like the 60s. This is where Flair was adopted by his adopted parent. Look up Ric Flair's adoption story. And she died before she could face trial. Of course, she died of some kind of turbo cancer probably. But this is the 50s and 60s. This has been going on for 100 years.
500,000 people, Joe, every year, kids.
They still do the milk carton?
I haven't seen one, but that just to see that number in front of me, like I said, you hear numbers, you hear radio stations, but to see that number in front of my face is unbelievable. That's the amount of kids in our country that go missing every year.
I think Brian Cates, he posted this on X. I'm going to laugh my ass off if former HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra has an indictment unsealed for human trafficking and it leads to a mass population awakening that human slavery has been reintroduced to the United States by people we are taught to trust the most. In the old form of human slavery, you captured a human being, threw them on a ship in chains, and sold them in a marketplace. The way it's done today, you talk the prospective slave into actually paying the slavers to transport you to the marketplace. Slaves are lied to in order to get them to be willing participant in their own servitude. The kids aren't the only ones making any decisions about making trips hundreds or even thousands of miles. They aren't tricked into becoming a new slave class. That's what's being done to these 300 missing kids here in the United States. And it's such a terrible, terrible crime. And all right, hey. Speaking of terrible crimes, though, Ryan, Kristi Noem, very attractive lady.
Yes.
When we first started the show, she was in the news cycle because it came out she admitted to shooting her dog. Remember that she shot her dog? She euthanized her dog.
Yeah.
That was in the news cycle. Everyone in television, the media, everyone had an opinion on it. What's happening with this story I'm about to read? Have you heard this? Have you seen anything about this? NIH closes experimental labs accused of brutally killing thousands of beagles for over 40 years. So the announcement comes just days after the Department of Government Efficiency head Elon Musk posted on X that he would investigate funding beagle experiments. A report from the White Coat Waste Project detailed the lab's history of allegedly pumping pneumonia-causing bacteria into more than 2,000 beagles' lungs, bleeding them out and forcing them into septic shock for deadly experiments. PETA in 2021 highlighted Anthony Fauci's alleged approval of funding for tests in Tunisia where beagle puppies were drugged and had their heads locked in cages the cages were then filled with hungry, infected sandflies. You thought Michael Vick was bad. Wait till I tell you about Anthony Fauci. My Lord. And remember, this isn't even one of the reasons President Joe Biden's, this has to be one of the reasons President Joe Biden's auto pen gave him a backdated pardon. That's not even one of them. This is just sick stuff. Following the announcement, White Coat Waste president and founder Anthony Bellotti praised President Trump for ending the highly scrutinized project. And shortly after the Trump administration took office, the Food and Drug Administration announced in April it would phase out animal testing requirement for antibody therapies and other drugs in favor of testing on materials that mimic human organs. Also, EPA Chief Lee Zeldin announced his agency would reinstate a 2019 policy from the first Trump administration to phase out animal testing. And it's good because I have dogs. They sleep in my bed with me. Killing 2,000 beagles in the name of science. What kind of weird science is that? Sandflies locked in a cage with sandflies. All right, one more story before the break. Kash Patel. So he's accused of being spotted at numerous nightclubs over the last couple weeks. No, spoiler alert, MSNBC got it wrong. So MSNBC, they had to issue a correction live on air today because they claimed FBI Director Kash Patel had been out partying at nightclubs instead of working. They did this on Friday. I believe it was Morning Joe. Yeah, MSNBC's Morning Joe. Frank Fagizzi was on his show suggesting FBI Director Kash Patel spent more time partying than working. Faguzzi was a top FBI official during Obama's first term, and he's currently an NBC News analyst. So play that audio of them correcting themselves that I heard today. I had to of Kash.
And now let's circle back to a segment from Friday's show. Frank Faguzzi was on that morning during this hour discussing the work of administration officials. At the end of that segment, Faguzzi said that FBI Director Kash Patel has reportedly been more visible at nightclubs than at his office at FBI headquarters. This was a misstatement. We have not verified that claim. We will be right back.
And we will also be right back on Thinking Logically. They must not want to get the Trump 60 Minutes treatment there, getting sued. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gullah with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gullah of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
Now here is a phrase you usually don't hear from somebody who is trying to earn your business. Just leave. Hi, this is Kalen from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. It's true. Freedom United does want you to leave. And do it now. Leave on vacation, or in your next vehicle, that is. Hey, maybe even do both. Get into a car and then drive it on vacation. We will provide the cash to do both. Fill up your tank, fill up your wallet, and then hit the road. It's time to enjoy a little freedom in your future. Keep in mind, we do like seeing you in our lobbies in Rochester, Settle Township, and in Harmony. So when we tell you to just leave, it's not about you. It's about your next purchase, a vacation, a car, or both. Stop in and apply today so you can just leave tomorrow. Loans are based on credit approval. Once again, this is Kalen from Freedom United Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, equal housing lender.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logic here on 99.3 FM WBVP. Talking about animal experiments in the previous segment. Also, the first segment we were talking about the fake news, Trump suing 60 Minutes, and them somehow... that interview with Kamala Harris that was edited, they might get an Emmy for it. They've been nominated. We'll have to wait to see if they win. Oh, I'm pushing for them. Okay, now we're going to talk about Trump making another mistake, apparently, on social media. He posted an AI image of himself as the Pope. And what do you think happened, audience? What do you think happened? Everyone in the media had a short memory of all the terrible things they did to Catholics and to Catholicism and all the blasphemy they've spewed over the past 5 years. But they focused on Trump posting an AI image that he didn't even make of himself as the Pope. So this is from CNN. Headline: Trump posts AI image of himself as Pope, leaving Catholics offended and unamused as conclave nears. U.S. President Donald Trump posted an AI image of himself as the Pope, prompting accusations of poor taste in the Roman Catholic community just days before the conclave to elect Pope Francis' successor is due to begin. Trump, who days prior joked that he would like to be Pope, posted the digitally doctored image of himself wearing a white cassock and papal headdress with his forefinger raised to his Truth Social platform late Friday night. It was then reshared by the White House on its official X account. It came less than a week after President Donald Trump, who is himself not a Catholic, attended Pope Francis' funeral last month. An official period of mourning for the Pope is still being observed by the Vatican. I don't get it. Trump posts himself as the Pope, and suddenly, everyone on the left, they're a religious zealot. All of a sudden. I don't get it.
Especially, any given time you go down your feed on Facebook, who knows the crazy things that AI made that you're looking at? I mean, that's what you picked out to complain about.
Someone else made this and he posted it. What's that wrong? But no, he was asked all day about that. Reporter today, quote, some Catholics were not so happy about the image of you looking like the Pope. Trump said this. Trump, you mean they can't take a joke? You don't mean the Catholics. You mean like the fake news media. The Catholics loved it. Maybe it was AI. My wife thought it was cute. Actually, I would not be able to be married if I were the Pope. It's the fake news media. They're all fakers. And the reporter said, does it diminish the substance of the official White House account to post that? Trump said, give me a break. Somebody did it in fun. And let me give a few other examples of, because they're saying he mocked Christianity. Ryan, do you remember this image of the Olympics? It was supposed to be like the Last Supper.
Yeah.
And maybe it was like the Last Supper. Maybe it wasn't. I believe it was something else.
I mean, I'm looking from, a distance of about, 8 to 10 feet, and it looks exactly like the picture below it. Those two pictures look very similar.
But maybe it wasn't. We'll give the left the benefit of the doubt here, unlike they do to Trump. So every single time they fall for this. What about if I spin this around and I show Governor Gretchen Whitmer giving a Dorito chip to I don't know if this person's a woman or a tranny.
Okay.
But a Dorito chip as if it's the Eucharist. Now, is that blasphemy? Is that offend any Christians? I'm sure I said something that wasn't nice about it. But again, whatever. Who cares? Governor Hochul, she said it's deeply offensive to me and my fellow Catholics around the world as we continue to mourn our beloved Pope. Whoa, Kathy Hochul, why are you giving the Eucharist, the Dorito Eucharist, to a woman on her knees?
Yeah.
Pretending like you're a priest.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, can't go both ways, right? You got to.
No. Well, you can go both ways in 2025, but it's kind of the norm. And then someone mentioned that MAGA would have a hernia if Obama posted himself as the Pope. Ryan, Look at these two articles. One from Newsweek. Both from Newsweek. One says, God of all things, and it shows Obama not as the Christian, but what's the Hindu thing with all the arms?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Obama there, and this Obama right here. It says the second coming.
And they got nerve to say, could you imagine if Obama would have had something like this? He did. He had.
Well, look.
Yeah.
You could even say at least Obama didn't post the image of AI. Look, it was worse. It was our own media presenting Barack Obama as if he was the second coming of Jesus Christ, or Buddha, or Hindu.
So do me a favor, turn that around one more time, just so the camera can see, because right here is plain as sight, Joe. In plain sight, you see the big words right across Newsweek, second coming, and Newsweek, God of all things. There's no mistaking what I'm seeing.
And again, Obama didn't do this. The media did this,
Right.
which is worse.
Right.
Which is so much worse. I'd rather Obama put it out. Dr. Fauci. Oh, hold on. If you're zooming in, I gotta look it up. Remember the Dr. Fauci prayer candle? Him, literally, Dr. Let it load. You can buy these. You can buy these.
Yeah.
Dr. Fauci, literally.
Looks like something you would see at
the Dr. Fauci prayer. He's depicting himself as Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Dr. Fauci is.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. What about, who am I forgetting? Oh, Catholic Joe Biden. Remember he had his DOJ show up at Latin Masses? You were praying a little too hard.
Yeah.
At that Latin Mass. We don't know what you're doing. I don't get it. I'm glad someone tagged in J.D. Vance. Because Bill Kristol said, hey, J.D. Vance, are you fine with this disrespect and mocking of the Holy Father? J.D. Vance replied, as a general rule, I'm fine with people telling jokes and not fine with people starting stupid wars that kill thousands of my countrymen. Ooh, did he hammer Bill Kristol there? But if by some miracle Trump is elected Pope, are we going to see black smoke, white smoke, or orange smoke? Let's talk about the odds here. So, what is it? It's been what, 14 days since the Pope has passed away, Pope Francis. Now on the 7th is when the conclave actually begins. So because Italy's 7 hours ahead, so it's technically the 6th over there. So in 24 hours, the Cardinals are officially on the clock. Who are they going to pick? I don't know. We're going to go over it. First question. Over under 60 and a half hours. How long will it take to pick a new pope? Over under, Ryan, 60 and a half hours. What do you say? Over under?
Oh, over.
I got to go. Usually it's under.
You're
It's
right.
like soccer rule.
Right.
It's usually
Nothing
under.
these days is normal. I'm going over by far.
Okay. And then the Pope. White Pope minus 120. Black Pope plus 150. Or other plus 170.
Oh, wow.
It's tough. It's tough.
I've never seen anything besides a white pope. Whether there was or not, I don't know, because I'm not educated in that area. But I'm going to go with just basically what I've seen my whole life. I'm going to say it's going to be a
Taking
white
Alabama on the money line against Kentucky.
Yes.
Okay.
And I readily admit that I know very little.
I'm going to go with the Black Pope. I think it's going to be. We're going to go through all the odds. So
I would like that. I would think,
odds on the next Pope here. So Pietro Parolin. We have time. He's plus 225, and he's the most senior cardinal bishop under the age of 80. You got Luis Antonio Tagle. He's from the Philippines. He's also plus 225. Plus 225 means 2.25 to 1. He's often seen as the representative of the Catholic Church's progressive wing, and he's pro-abortion. So we don't want Tagle or Tagle. You don't want him. Call your congressman and say no. Peter Truxon from Ghana. He's plus 400, 4-to-1 odds. Observers have described his policy positions as a mixture of progressive political views with conservative theological stances. He's also against abortion, and he's also even against using contraceptives. He didn't like people wearing condoms during Ghana's AIDS epidemic. That's not a joke either. You got Peter Erdo from Hungary. He's at plus 650. He's the leading conservative candidate for the upcoming 2025 papal draft. He's also one of the 5 cardinal electors appointed by Pope John Paul II that's eligible to participate. That was a long time ago. Then there's Matteo Zuppi from Italy, 7-to-1 odds. Zuppi's terrible. He opposed right-wing politics in general. He's also pro-immigrant and was a close associate of Pope Francis. You got Daniel Gregory, 7-to-1 odds. He's a clear divergence of opinions with President Joe Biden on abortion. I believe he's the one that said that maybe he's the one that said you shouldn't get be able to get the Eucharist if you're pro-abortion. Then there's Cardinal Pizzaballa. He has the best name. He's from Italy through Jerusalem.
I'm going for that guy.
That's Mark's guy. He's plus 9-1 odds.
I like anybody with pizza in their names. I'm in.
Right? He was made a cardinal by Pope Francis in 2023. He's a Franciscan friar, and so that's his claim to fame. There's Robert Sarah from Guinea, not New Guinea, just Guinea, 12-1 odds. He's been a vocal advocate for the defense of traditional Catholic teachings on questions of sexual morality. Also very against Islamic fundamentalism. Then there's Fridolin Ambogno Basuno from Congo, 14-1 odds. He's a cultural conservative opposing blessings for same-sex marriage, stating that unions of persons from the same sex are considered contradictory to cultural norms. Mario Getch from Malta, 20-1 odds. He has changed his tone on homosexuality over the past decade, declaring France's endorsement of same-sex civil unions were a storm in the teacup. I don't know what that means. And there is Timothy Dolan, 45-1. He's seen as representing conservative values, and he's also a very charismatic media personality. Who are we missing here? Oh, Leo Burke, 21-1 odds. He was the cardinal that clashed with Pope Francis. That was the one that said Joe Biden should not receive the Eucharist because of his views on abortion. And then you got President Donald Trump at 100-1 plus 10,000. And the dark horse, Senator John Fetterman at 20 plus 20,000. Remember a few months ago, Fetterman was the front runner to be the Pope of Greenland, according to him himself.
Joe, before we do go to break, I have one question. Who's this guy that's popped up out of nowhere about 2 weeks ago? He's claiming that he's the next Pope, and he's claiming that he... have you seen this guy on social media?
No.
I wish... you know what? During the break, I'll look his name up for you, but very interesting. He's getting a lot of momentum, and he claims that he is the new Pope. He claims that he's this, and people are claiming that he's the Antichrist. So I will look up the name for you, Joe.
The opposite of Shedeur Sanders. Instead of sliding back in the draft, he's sliding up.
He's a weird character. Again, I'll pull it up for you, and that way people at home can also check it out as well when we come back.
Okay, we'll be back in about 90 seconds. Stay tuned and listen to Think Logic on 99.3 FM WBVP.
Tune in to the Beaver County Radio Morning Show with Frank Sparks and Scott Tatey. Weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. The show is presented by Patriot Home Care. Frank and Scott will get you caught up on what's going on in the world with news, sports, and entertainment, along with playing some of your favorite tunes, including Pittsburgh area bands. They'll also have monthly guests and weekly features like Backyard Beaver County, notes on entertainment. So make plans every weekday morning to jump out of bed, put on a fresh pot of coffee, and tune in to the Beaver County Morning Show with Frank Sparks and Scott Tatey here on Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically, or 99.3 FM WBVP. We got a few more stories to get to. Craziest one, Trump's opening up Alcatraz? Not Club Alcatraz off the center exit, the 18 and under club from 20-some years ago. We're talking about actual Alcatraz. So he posted this: rebuild and open Alcatraz. For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. No longer will we tolerate these serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That is why today I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, Homeland Security, etc., reopen and enlarge and rebuild Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. We will no longer be held hostage to criminals, thugs, and judges. Woo! He said judges? That are afraid to do their job and allow us to remove criminals who came into the country illegally. The reopening of Alcatraz will serve as a symbol of law and order and justice. We will make America great again. And I had to read this tweet from Awakened Outlaw X. He said, did you know that Alcatraz was originally built as a military reservation and the U.S. Army constructed a fortress on the highest point known as the Citadel? Confederate prisoners of war and private citizens accused of treason. This is after the suspension of habeas corpus. They were imprisoned there once established as a military prison. Seems pertinent. And that's from Awakened Outlaw on X. Could this be what we need? Judges arrested and thrown in Alcatraz? That he wins the midterm and a third term if he does that, I think. What else real quick? Breaking. India offers 0-for-0 tariffs on both auto parts and steel from the United States. And poof, just like that, tariffs work. Who could have guessed? Also, Trump to impose 100% tariffs on foreign movies. Did you see that, Ryan?
I have not.
So I don't know how that's going to work. You're going to pay double to go see a foreign film. I get it. Like propaganda in the Cold War, you know, but how do you tariff a film?
I know, right?
I don't know. Also, rumors of war between India and Pakistan possibly breaking out over the next week. Keep in mind, these are two nuclear powers. Ryan, do you know anything at all about India and Pakistan?
I know that India is very big, and I know they both have nuclear capability, yes.
I will tell you this. If war breaks out between India and Pakistan,
it's going to be
hilarious.
I was thinking serious.
Slapstick comedy.
Really?
Slapstick. Picture the Indians going to war. Picture the Pakistanis going to war. Picture yourself in a convenience store. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be slapstick comedy over and over again. They're going to be firing missiles into each other. I mean, cannons.
Yeah. I know that, like I said, I know that India has a lot of people. That is one thing that I do know.
A very filthy country, too.
Is it really?
Yes. Speaking of filthy, the diddler.
Oh,
his sex trafficking trial began today. Now, if you've living under a rock, the rap mogul, he turned down a plea deal and now faces the potential of life in prison. Just to be clear, though, it was jury selection. That's what started today, I believe, not the actual trial. I guess the trial today, the jury selection, though, did begin with the judge joking with P. Diddy, a.k.a. the Diddler, about his various nicknames, which I think is kind of inappropriate. I mean, the judge joking around about the nicknames kind of shows a lack of respect or shows disrespect towards people that were sex trafficked, possibly, and the victims and survivors that are in the courtroom as well. I don't know, maybe just be impartial and just, after all we've seen with judges, maybe just sit there and shut up. I think it's a federal trial, so I don't think we'll be able to, but can you imagine if we could watch the Diddy trial like we did with Johnny Depp and all the things we'd be able to see and hear?
Yeah.
Why can't we?
That's a good question.
Let's do something about that. I want cameras in federal courtrooms. Also, I think Trump may have struck a mineral deal between Ukraine and the United States and Zelensky. Maybe he signed, I don't know. That was over the weekend. I really didn't pay attention. And lastly, Luigi Mangione. Remember him? He capped the CEO. This is from Revolver News. They said, "We regret to inform you another high-profile case may have just been botched by a female cop. Luigi Mangione, accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, could walk free after an illegal search. Supposedly, the evidence was mishandled by the female cop that arrested him. There was no warrant to search the bag. There was no body cam. This isn't an isolated mistake. This is a DEI disaster on repeat." And I guess there was like 45 minutes in between the time that she showed someone the gun and she found the bag. What could have happened in that time? I don't know, but it's giving this guy who pretty much was an open shut case. A monkey could have tried this case and won it. It's giving him an out. I don't know. That's all we have for today. Go ahead, Ryan.
I looked this gentleman up. His name is Abdullah. Now, he has been claiming to be a messenger from, let me pull it up real quick, a messenger from Jesus and Muhammad. He's gaining a lot of momentum. Again, he goes by Abdullah, and he's claiming to be the Mahdi, M-A-H-D-I, of the, I believe that's of the Islam faith. But again, look him up on YouTube, guys. I noticed it's something I've been seeing over the past 10 days. A lot of traction, a lot of views, and just a lot of people talking about this guy right now. So it was just something interesting I thought, Joe, to maybe bring up to you because, again, I've been seeing it a lot to just maybe monitor this character.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not him. But there's a lot of people we read that are very, very far left that we hope it's not them either. Again, there was 2 or 3 that were pro-conservative. Pete Zabala wasn't even the most conservative one, but we'll take him.
And he's claiming to also not only be the messenger of Jesus and Muhammad, but he's saying that he's the real next pope. So again, check this guy out. Interesting. Anything, to say the least, just interesting stuff.
But yeah, quite an episode there. It feels like we take a week and just too much happens and we're like behind the news story. So hopefully we won't take another break again for for a couple weeks. Don't forget, though, just reminding our audience, come the second week of June, we're moving to 3 p.m. Mondays and Thursdays instead of 5 p.m. But that is it for the show. You've been listening to Think of Logic on 99.3 FM. We'll be back again on Thursday, same time, 5 to 6 p.m. Until then, stay frosty out there. We'll see you Thursday.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to 99.3 FM.